Greetings, birding friends. I'm Holly Kleindienst. I want to thank you on behalf of Kendall Croson and myself for participating in the 121st Christmas bird count for the National Audubon Society. This will be the 65th count for the Santa Catalina Mountain Circle. We appreciate you taking time from your busy holiday season to participate in the longest running citizen science project in the world. Kendall is our primary organizer and compiler. He does all the heavy lifting of assembling the names of all the participants and assigning them to sectors and teams. With 78 birders last year, this is no easy feat. This is my second year trying to help Kendall out with all this project. I've tried to slip into a more secretarial role. I've been updating forms and tally sheets. I track emails for him and cross-check data. But last year, my primary focus was on creating maps of the sectors. Prior to this, we had very good written descriptions of the sectors within the circle. But then last year, we created hard copy PDF file maps for the sectors. And we also created a .kmz file, which allows the map to be viewed in Google Earth. If you've received an email with the .kmz file, you need to make sure you have Google Earth installed on your home computer. Not Google Maps, but actually Google Earth. And when you double click on the .kmz file, Google Earth should automatically open and zoom right into the file. This allows sector leaders and their team to go do some virtual scouting that they might not be able to do in the field on foot and by car. You get that aerial view where you can look for water features and good arroyos with mesquite thickets and things like that that might be more difficult to find in the sectors, especially those that are less roaded. This year, we've also added a .kml file. This file can be opened in Google Maps. This is going to be of particular interest to the folks that are in the urban and suburban areas of Tucson for this count, because they'll be able to see where they are within their sector on their phone. Now, the tools that I have so far for creating this file in Google Maps are not perfect, and so I thought I would go ahead and give you guys a little demo of how to open up this file and view it in Google Maps. Without further ado, let's go take a look. The first thing we need to do is make sure that Google Maps is installed on your phone. If you're an Android user, that won't be hard because Google Maps is the default map program. If you're an iPhone user, you may only have Maps. It's going to be the app that's got the little I-280 symbol on it instead of the upside down teardrop that's multicolored. If you don't have Google Maps, just go to the App Store and download it. It is free. And open up Google Maps and make sure it's running in the background. Now go to your mail and find the email that you either have or will receive that has the link to the file to open up in Google Maps. Just tap on the link. It should take you right into Google Maps, and you can now see the yellow lines that define the edge of the circle and all of the sector boundaries. Down in the bottom bar, you see it says AZSC CBC Map 2020. That stands for Arizona Santa Catalina CBC Map. And underneath it, it says View Map Legend. So let's do that. You can see there are 5 different layers here. There is the AZ sector map circle. This is just the circle with none of the sector boundary lines and no points of interest. There are polygons for each sector. If you hit 32 more, you can see the list of all of the sectors. Below that, we have labels for the sectors, all 36 of them. Each one of those is represented by a blue pin. There are points of interest. Some sectors have points of interest that have already been noted, some don't. And there are water features that we have been able to locate and identify. They are also denoted with a blue pin. At this point, we can't make the pins different color. They're all gonna be blue. So that's just the way it is. So let's go ahead and play with this a little bit. Right now, let's go in and untoggle sector polygons, sector labels, points of interest, and water features. And then to get back to the map, go up to the red bar, and on the left-hand side, there's that back arrow. If you hit this close that's in blue with an X in the middle on the right, that will take you completely out of the map. We'll show you how to deal with that here in a little bit. So hit the back arrow up in the red bar. It takes you back to the map, and now you can see just the outer boundary of the circle. This might be useful if you're trying to determine if your house is inside or outside of the circle. So you can see the little pulsing blue dot there with the white circle around it. That is my current location. This is the advantage of using Google Maps. It shows your location within the circle or the sectors. And we can see that my home is just inside the sector circle. Okay, let's go back to the legend. Down at the very bottom, it says View Map Legend, and we can go back to the legend. Let's go ahead and turn on sector polygons and the labels for the polygons. Again, we're going to hit the back arrow up in the red bar at the top. And now we can see the boundaries for each of the sectors within. And then there is a blue pin that sometimes disappears when you zoom in too far. If you tap on that, it should tell you which sector you're in. When you get one of these, at any point you have this, you can slide up from the bottom on an iPhone. I'm not quite sure how this works on Android. I apologize for that. And once again, you can get back to the legend if you want to. So we can zoom in and we can see the rows. If we go in far enough, the names of the roads will populate. We can move around here and see other roads that are shown here. So that's useful. Something that's more useful in this particular sector, this is the lakes at Castle Rock. If you go up in the upper right-hand corner, you can see there is like a stack of diamonds. Those are the different background layers that are available. If you tap on those, you can switch to the satellite view. This is very useful. So for example, coming in here to the lakes at Castle Rock, here we can see there's this open, dry savanna. This will be a great place to look for sparrows. Then there is the Tanque Verde and Agua Caliente wash that is running right through the middle of the sector. It's got a lot of big, thick mesquite groves there that we can check for different species of birds. There are man-made lakes where we can check for waterfowl and shorebirds and such. There's more open, dry areas here and such. So this can be very useful for doing a little virtual scouting. Or just simply, if you're out here in the middle of Isabella Natural Preserve, figuring out where you need to go to get back to your vehicle. There is one more background layer that's available, and that's terrain. That's not so useful down here in the Tucson Valley sectors, but if you were up here in one, say, Summer Haven, this layer could be quite useful. Okay, let's go back down to the lakes at Castle Rock and let's look at some of the other features that are available. Now, because you're on cellular data, sometimes it takes the layers a little bit to repopulate when you're zooming in and out. So don't panic, just wait for it to happen. It will happen. I'm going to switch back to the satellite view. And I'm going to swipe up from the bottom. I'm going to go back into my map legend. I'm going to turn off sector labels just so that those blue pins aren't showing. And I'm going to select water features and see how many identified water features are within. hitting the little back arrow up at the top, I can see there are multiple water features within this sector. In fact, this sector has the most water of any sector here. Again, you can see that some of the boundary lines haven't fully loaded yet. Sometimes it just takes a little time, so be patient with it. Then you can tap on these little pins and it'll tell you this is a lake. You can go in further and you can take a look at that lake at a closer scale. So that's water features. Let's go back into the legend by tapping View Map Legend in blue. And so it's not too busy. We're going to turn off water features and we're going to select points of interest and see what points of interest have been already identified for this sector. I'm going to zoom out a little bit, give it a minute to catch up, and we can see there are 2 points of interest that are coming up by those blue pins. Let's tap on the one on the left. This one is Isabella Lee Natural Preserve. I can tap on this one on the right, and that's pulling up the name of the sector. Let's zoom in a little bit closer. And there it is, La Mariposa Resort, which also has some ponds associated with it that could be checked out. So that's a basic overview of this map feature. I hope some of you find it useful. And remember, it's not perfect. Let me show you one more thing. Let's go back to the map legend. So let's say you accidentally hit this close with the blue X when you want to go back to your map instead of the back arrow up at the top. If that happens, all of a sudden the map of the CBC sector has just vanished. Don't panic, just go back into your mail, click the link again, and it will reopen right back to where you started at the very beginning. Well, I do hope that this map in Google Maps is useful for some of you. I wish you all a great count day. I hope you stay warm. I hope you have a lot of fun. I hope it's full of birds. Do remember that if it's not full of birds, low counts and zero counts are also important numbers. That does help us still track the trends in bird distribution and abundance. Also remember that a Christmas bird count is not meant to be a 100% survey that you've seen every single bird within your sector. We just want you to go bird the areas that you can easily get to, where you're likely to see birds and where it's legal to access. Your data represents a trend in distribution and numbers of birds compared to those of past and future years. It's not every bird that's in the circle. You're never going to be able to do that. If you're an eBird user, we do encourage you to log your birds into eBird and create your tally for the Christmas bird count from that data. That way, all of your work on your Christmas bird count day will double count, both for the Christmas bird count and for eBird data. You can find lots of information on eBirding your Christmas bird count on the eBird website. Wishing you all peace, love, and lots of birds during this holiday season. Bye-bye. See you soon.